Here we are then, waiting to see the second outing of the Supersport guys. And would you believe the man on pole position is the kid. That's the man who won the first race, of course. That's Stuart Easton. He's in third place on the grid. But the man on pole position, the boy on pole position, is the son of the former Formula One British champion and double sidecar world champion, Darren Dixon. Local people, of course, from down in deepest Kent. Jake Dixon is on pole position on bike number 46, the distinctive black and yellow machine with which he forced his way up to a very decent finish in the and I'll tell you what it was when I've got it to hand. He finished eventually in 6th place, but set the fastest lap on the CF Motorsport Yamaha en route behind Easton, Seeley, Wilson, Gowland and O'Halloran. Alistair Seeley leads the championship still from the man who narrowly beat him in race 1, Stuart Easton. Ben Wilson in 3rd place on the second Gearlink Kawasaki is 15 points ahead of Billy McConnell, the double race winner here from last year on the Smiths of Gloucester Triumph. Graham Gowland, Seaton Tuning Yamaha, another good 4th place for him. Glenn Richards, the reigning champion, is 6th overall ahead of Glenn Irwin, Jason O'Halloran, Jake Dixon and Richard Cooper. 11th place for Luke Jones ahead of Taylor Mackenzie, unlucky to crash out at Stirling's Bend from a really strong ride early in the first race this morning. Luke Mossey 13th ahead of Scott Smart, Luke Stapleford, Dean Brown, Bjorn Estmont, David Payton, Sam Hornsey and Pauli Pekkanen. And the grid looks rather like this. Jake Dixon on the CF Racing Yamaha on pole position. Alistair Seeley, Gearlink Kawasaki 2nd. Stuart Easton, Martrain Yamaha 3rd. Glenn Richards on the Smiths Triumph finds himself on an unexpected roll. That's welcome. The pole position man, first time out, Graham Gowland, Seaton Tuning Yamaha. Backers required, please, to make sure Park. He leads the second row from Ben Wilson, Richard Cooper and Billy McConnell even, and Skippy is ahead of fellow Australian Jason O'Halloran all the way from Wollongong on the Samsung Honda, in front of Motherwell's Dean Brown, Scott Smart, local man, and Luke Jones, and then Luke Stapleford, Taylor Mackenzie, Glenn Irwin and Rob Guyver, who got a point in the first race, make up row 4. So everything to play for here in beautiful sunshine at Brands Hatch in the British Supersport Championship race. And at the moment, the championship points mean that Stuart Easton needs to once again get the better of his great rival if he's going to do it. Look at the angle of Jake Dixon. What does he mean on the right-hand side? Does he get the drive on the CF Motorsport Yamaha into the first turn? Whoa, across swoops. I think it might have been Stuart Easton who leapt from right to left and squeezed through on the Martrain Yamaha. So Stuart Easton grabs a vital early advantage, but here comes Wilson. Wilson typically aggressively forces his way through. Whether there was space or not, he's made it on the inside. And Jake Dixon, of course, coming under a bit of, well, shall we say, rumpty-tumpty from the more experienced fellas around him, finds himself back in 3rd place. The leader, Ben Wilson, means business. Easton, Dixon, Gowland, O'Halloran, Seeley, McConnell, Cooper, Richards. What a lengthy lineup of top-class Supersport riders.
Yeah, that's exactly what we got in this class, but a great opening few corners for Ben Wilson to get himself in the lead, as you say. Easton behind, and Gowland just moved up the inside of Dixon there into, so Gowland into 3rd, Dixon 4th, and then Seeley championship leader in 5th.
I don't know whether you glimpsed on the starting grid the beautiful tartan skirts of the young ladies surrounding Graham Gowland. They're supplied by Dougie Anderson from Anderson Kilts in Dumfriesshire.
No, I didn't, Jack, I'm afraid.
Oh, I'm afraid you should have checked them out. Seaton Tartan they are, after Phil Seaton and his Scottish ancestry at Seaton Tuning Yamaha. Meanwhile, at the front, Gearlink Kawasaki has the advantage over Martrain Yamaha. 3rd place for Gowland, 4th place Seeley.
I'll tell you what though, Ben Wilson this is so exciting on the opening laps. He just tries to break them every time, and often quite successfully. He really gets his head down. But the man in 2nd, Stuart Easton, the winner of the first race, look at Wilson's bike into there.
Wow, you know, even Easton elegantly skating sideways into Druids. It's great to see him when he actually gets things slightly out of shape, but yet so elegantly. Look at Jake Dixon there, hanging in. Now that he's been buffeted about a bit, he's obviously recovered his senses, James, and he's just holding his own behind Seeley.
Well, he's just doing a great job as he is. Remember, he's on a cut bike as well. Seeley has slipped past him, but that is nothing to be to be ashamed of. Seeley leading the championship. Seeley, an unbelievably quick rider with 4 wins this year. So Jake Dixon really holding his head up high, and without doubt one of the names for the future, as far as I'm concerned.
Very much so. Look at this, Ben Wilson. What Wilson does, you just know how much effort. But this is a 16-lap race, James. He really has got a long race ahead of him in terms of, rubber doing its job for him on the road, but it's the only way that he knows how. That's why we love him.
No, that's exactly right. That is the only way that he knows how. And what he does do, though, very well is often he gets a little bit of a jump of people on the opening lap, and he can consolidate that, and then they find it very hard to take it back. Whereas the thing is, Stuart Easton, he didn't allow him to get that. He did have a bit of a gap on the first lap, just about 0.4 of a second, but as they cross the line, the gap is less than 1/10 of a second. Fastest man on track on that lap, Jake Dixon, 1:29.3 in 5th spot.
That's impressive, isn't it, from young Jake?
Yeah, well, he is very impressive. Look who's behind him. Jason O'Halloran on the factory Honda, Cooper, McConnell, Jones, Richards, Brown, McKenzie, Stableford. He's doing great, and the next cut rider is Guyver in 19th.
Wow, yeah, and Bjorn Esterman in 20th. So as you can see that you've got to hand it. What Ben Wilson does is starts, when he gets a start like that, he's so... And he just lost the drive coming up out of Surtees. That gave Stuart Easton the chance, and the Yamaha soared through. And here comes the second of those Yamahas. Graham Gowland assaults him going up the hill into Hawthorns. What a move that was. And Wilson, of course, tries to respond straight away. And now the two Geerling Kawasaki's together, 3rd and 4th. Well, do you know what? Those Geerling Kawasaki's are known to be really quick, but it looked like look at Seeley doing Wilson as well. Wilson having a really bad couple of corners there, because he gets duffed up by the top 3, finds himself going from 1st to 4th in a matter of about 4 corners. But those Yamahas look like they both just had the edge on the top speed there. This is the first move. This is Gowland. Sorry, what's the man in 2nd place? Gowland there, number 81 on the Seaton Yamaha, just going up the inside. And it was so fast there. He did it perfectly. But he's now going for the lead. Here he is. This is a new, not quite, this is a newborn aggression from the Northumbrian. He's so determined to be able to continue his campaign. He wants to put on a good showing for the cash-strapped Seaton tuning team. And now then, dropping down the hill, Easton, Gowland, Seeley, Wilson, O'Halloran, Dixon, Cooper, McConnell, Jones. So Jason O'Halloran getting in the mix now. Glenn Richards 10th. Dean Brown for the Appleyard Macadam team is 11th. Taylor McKenzie has got the Tyco Suzuki Pope through to 12th ahead of Luke Stableford. Glenn Irwin, Scott Smart, last point scorer in 15th place on the Oxford Tag Triumph. Stuart Easton just stretching him at the front there. Gowland doing a great job trying to stay with him. But you can see how hard. It's funny with Stuart, because Easton could be a bit misleading, the man in the lead, number 5, because he's so smooth. He was the protege of Steve Hislop, one of the smoothest riders ever, and he's just got that little silky touch. So everything he does is a little bit less dramatic, but it's so impressive in the way he does it. The way he's just such a neat, precise rider. Dropping through clearways now, the front 3 just beginning to open a bit of a gap. Fastest lap on that lap, 1:29.106, would you believe? And that was by Richard Cooper, Oxford Tag Triumph. But as we watch him once again, just a glimmer of a move there on the lead from Graham Gowland. But the Northumbrian gets a little offline coming out of Paddock Hill Bend, and for a moment Seeley was trying to poke a way through. Alistair Seeley, 1:20.951, and a problem for Glenn Irwin on the 2nd Martrain Yamaha. He's had such good outings recently, but a poor day for Glenn Irwin, the likeable Ulsterman. Scotsman Stuart Easton still running at the front, teammate of course to Glenn Irwin. 2nd place on the Irish Martrain team. 2nd place for Graham Gowland from high up the South Tyne Valley. Number 34, Alice, right there with him, looking as if he could nudge his way through at any moment. What a contrast in styles. It's Stuart Easton, who won a dramatic nail-bite 10-lap sprint race earlier today, is now leading. Oh, what a move by Alistair Seeley.
No, it's too much.
Completely off track and has to go grass track and come back on. Wow, that was a big moment.
That was a big moment. It was a hell of a save as well. He was just in too hot. He couldn't keep it down. You look at the green bike, Alistair Seeley, the man leading the championship here. He just can't get into the apex. Runs out of road, has to stand it up. It's lucky it's dry, because if that was wet, he would be straight off the bike. But there is some grip there. He's able to do it. Keeps his head and rejoins the track. But a bit of a squeaky moment for him there.
Oh, and look, Graham Gowland for a split second did make that move into Paddock Hill Bend. Couldn't quite make it stick. And the brave Geordie fella now finds himself once again just back behind Stuart Easton. Easton leads, Gowland second, Wilson, O'Halloran, Cooper all ahead now of Alistair Seeley in sixth.
Do you know what? We spoke to Gowland on the grid. We said, what do you need to do to get a podium? You know, and earlier today I said maybe he needs a bit more of a tiger, needs to dig in there, and he is doing exactly that. This is the best I've seen Gowland ride. It looks like he's really pumped up to try and get this race. And behind him, it looks like O'Halloran. Gowland does go into the lead. You can see him teeing up for that. Is he going to run wide? No, maybe a little bit. No, yes, he does. And Easton is just so precise. You run a bit wide, he'll just square it off, come back underneath you. But all the time, he's just breaking his rhythm a bit. And then you can see it's back to Wilson, then O'Halloran, then Cooper, then Seeley.
It's good to see Richard Cooper. The Oxford Tank guys got their equipment fairly late in the day, James, and they've been running a bit behind schedule trying to get it sorted out. They're beginning to get it properly on the pace now, the new Triumph.
Yeah, they are, although you've got to say, personally, I think the Triumph is a little bit off the pace still, because when you look at who you've got on it, you know, Richards, McConnell, you know, Cooper, and, you know, they are...
Oh, here comes Gowler again. Can he make it stick this time? Last time he drifted a bit wide and that immaculate little Scotsman was straight back up the inside, up towards Druitt. Has he done it again? Not this time. Oh, Gowland. Proper Norrie Harger stuff into Druitt Hill Bend.
Yeah, and he looks, doesn't he just look, he just looks a little bit more, there's something about him, I can't put my finger on it, he's just more determined, he just looks a bit hungrier, he looks a bit more desperate. That's what it is. He's just got a little bit more of an edge of, he doesn't care, he wants to do this, he wants to get this podium. And wouldn't it be something if his first podium was a win?
Wouldn't it just? Yes. Well, at the moment, it looks every possibility, and it's all down to Swift Moto, to Mikey Elliott, and to this wonderful fan from Canada, Ron Drury, who's over from Alberta to support the Seton Tuning team this weekend. And if they could get, well, any sort of rostrum finish would be something. But of course, James, we're only on the 7th lap of 16. This is a long, hot, demanding race, their second outing of the day.
Yeah, not even quite half distance. So, yeah, you're right, there's a long way to go. And look at O'Halloran. Just up the inside of Ben Wilson there. It's a hairy old place to pass there. And you can see in the background, Seeley's got past Cooper as well.
So you always feel Seeley could be the danger man, don't you, James? Well, he's just poised there.
And also, he's just, again, he's such a good rider. He doesn't make mistakes. He's consistent, super fast, uses his head. He's a real championship contender. And he hasn't got a 35-point lead at the top of the championship for nothing.
So, across the line then, Gowland, Easton, O'Halloran, Wilson, Seeley, Cooper. Whoa!
Seeley up the inside.
Seeley up the inside of Wilson. He moves fourth. Dixon is brilliantly in 7th place, ahead of McConnell, Richards and Luke Jones, with Taylor Mackenzie now 11th.
Oh! That's Cooper.
It's Cooper, Richard Cooper, little tiny Cooper man from the bright-eyed lad from Nottingham has gone down.
Oh, what a shame. He was having such a good ride. He's a lovely little rider, that guy, you know, and we just really want to see him, you know, mastering this class as he did in Superstock. And it's easy to do there. Just tucks the front, you're carrying corner speed, you're trying to keep it on line, you're dragging that brake, and down he went. So unlucky Richard, but I'm sure he'll be bouncing back and coming back next time out.
So it's bye-bye for the moment to the former National Superstock 1000 champion. Remember, he won that championship in 2011. Alistair Seeley, 128.688 is the latest, fastest lap of the race.
It is indeed, and so Seeley the man. Now let's have a little look at that gap. So at the moment, Seeley and Wilson 1.6 seconds behind the leaders. Okay, this is half race distance, so let's just keep a little eye on that. Let's just see what Seeley can do. Oh, Seeley looking down then? No. No, sorry, I just caught him the way he was suddenly with the angle of the camera. It just made it look like he was looking down, but he's not. Seeley's got a bit of clear track. He's overtaken Wilson, he's overtaken O'Halloran, and now let's have a little look at his lap time. So he's exactly...
he was about half a second quicker than the two guys in front of him on that lap, James, so he's closing that gap suddenly.
Yeah, well, he's already taken, as you say, it was 1.6, it's down to 1.1, and Seeley, he's got that clear track. At the moment, you could say, is Easton being held up a fraction? Well, I don't think he is, actually, because Gowland's got a gap of a couple of tenths of a second, but Seeley is just definitely coming to join the party shortly.
Alistair Seeley edging towards his existing... we've got a problem for what the other Oxford Tag Triumph. Is that Scott Smart? So one Oxford Tag Triumph falls and the other one has to ride out. By the way, Scott gave that demo lap on the Britain,
yeah.
And he said, James, he said, I could not believe it was more or less 20 years old. It is an astonishing ratio, really light machine, fabulous bike.
And it's just such a wonderful thing. Obviously, it was at Goodwood at the Festival of Speed last week, and I had a good look round it, and you know, it is an amazing bike. You know, we've been ridden by Bruce Anstey there, and you know, I remember seeing it when it was brand new. You know, when it first came out in the early 90s, and looking around this shocking thing with the pink pipes and this unbelievable design, but it still looks and sounds like nothing else.
Now, Alistair Seeley, as we go absolute half distance onto the 10, just after half distance onto the 10th lap of 16, and what a battle on at the front. He goes 228.334. Alistair Seeley is edging. Oh, Gowland once again backing into Druids. Brilliant riding from the Northumbrian, but he's now got some real company. He's got the blue Martrain Yamaha and the bright green Geeling Kawasaki right behind him. Alistair Seeley's lap record 128.085 from when he won 3 times in 2011 here at Brands Hatch. He's edging ever closer, 128.334 on that last lap.
He certainly is. As you say, that's the quickest lap of the weekend, and you know, if they carry on like this, he might just get a new lap record. Only 0.3 of a second off, but Graham Gowland down in front there on the is just doing everything he can. He's not putting a foot wrong at the moment. He's making it difficult to pass. He's hitting every apex, but you can see Seeley and Easton are right behind him. Easton knows Seeley's behind him. His board's hanging out saying +0 Seeley, and he knows that's the man with the championship lead. That's the man out of everyone he's got to beat.
Graham Gowland, what an all-round talent. The former British under-21 motocross champion in 2004, then 2005 he did a Ron Haslam race school at Donington Park, and that set him off onto a road racing career.
Easton's going to have a look there. It looked to me, it looked like he was building up.
And he was doing well spotted, James Hayden, and Easton must realise he's got to get past him if he's going to fend off. Alistair Seeley gets underneath Graham Gowland as they go up Halewood Hill. He has followed. Now this is going to be drama.
It is, and this is when I want to see Gowland really dig in. If he, you know, obviously he's looking good for a podium, so he's got to remember that. He's got a nice gap up on Wilson. Okay, so he's got to take that into account. But if he wants to come and hang with these guys, if he wants to mix with these guys, he's got to lay these punches when he can, and that's exactly what he's doing at the moment.
Stuart Easton was a winner here in British Supersport in 2005 on a 748 Ducati. He was a winner this morning in the sprint race in a dramatic finish with Alistair Seeley. Now he's got the wee wizard for company once again. What a pair of warriors these two are. So it's Easton versus Seeley and Gowland for the race win on the 11th lap of 6.
Certainly is. Yamaha versus Kawasaki, Scott versus Irishman, and obviously the English...
Oh, here's Seeley. Just like that, swoops underneath as they go through the saucer-shaped left-hander at Stirling's Bend.
And Seeley and Easton are such sort of similar. They're both slight little riders. You know, they're both very smooth. Even though they've got slightly different styles, they place the motorcycle in a similar way. They're consistent. They're thoughtful. You know, they're almost two peas out of pod, these two.
And right behind you've got the all-action dramatic Graham Gowland. This is quite something. Behind them, by the way, Wilson getting the better of O'Halloran. Jake Dixon still running strongly in 6th place, ahead of Billy McConnell, Glenn Richards, Luke Jones, Taylor Mackenzie now 10th ahead of Dean Brown and Luke Stapleford.
You know, I think Gowland's looking really good in that third spot as well. You know, he's still hanging on to these guys. Seeley, we know what he likes to do at this spot. You know, he's 12 laps, he's just four and a bit laps left. You know, he likes to try and break it at this point. He'll try and go. Can he done? He's got not a bad lead. Having said all that, he always tries and stretches it, and he'll have a real go for a lap and a half, and if he doesn't get it, then he'll back it off again and wait till the last couple of laps. Look at this, it looks like Wilson and O'Halloran might just be like closing him in a little bit as well. I think he might be too little too late, but they definitely looked a little bit closer in the back of the picture.
Wilson, of course, as you would expect.
Did you see it? That was beautiful as well. Looked like he had a little spin, left a lovely black line. Seeley using every millimetre of this circuit. And remember, this is the man that ran off earlier on in the race. You know, he had a big moment, but he's bolted it down, he's come back, he's found his rhythm again, and he's doing a beautiful job at the moment. Let's have a look at that lead when he crosses the line. It's got to be 4 or 5 tenths. 3 tenths, 0.317, and 4 tenths on Gowland. Now, let's see if the Easton can regroup and what's going to happen here.
Easton needs to. He knows that somehow he's got to keep trimming away at that championship advantage, James. He cut it back to 35 in the first race. Seeley goes wide out of Druids.
He did. He was on the power fraction. He was a bit desperate to get on the power, and it meant he couldn't hold his line. He had to run too wide, and then he couldn't get on the power all the way down the hill. Couldn't get through. A little mistake there from Gowland. So he's in a bit hard, but he pulls it back, doesn't get to the apex. But obviously he's going to get a nice toe off Easton.
Ben Wilson, fastest lap of his race, 1:29.0, but that didn't match the 1:28.98 by a whisker. Alistair Seeley at the front.
This is going to be some exciting few laps. You know there's going to be some drama here, Jack. I don't know but there's going to be something. These guys have been clattering it out. These guys, so what have we got? Seeley, the championship leader, the man with 4 wins. Behind him, Stuart Easton, the man with 5 wins. These two, the fastest two in the championship, been, you know, and they're first and second in the championship, but it's Seeley that's got the comfortable lead. Easton, the man on the blue Martrain Yamaha, needs to beat Seeley. He needs to take another 5 points off him after his terrible weekend at Snetterton. And then behind them, hungry and pumped up, the man who's never had a podium and is looking really, really good for it, is Graham Gowland.
Easton and Gowland set their fastest laps of the race on that lap to sneak back in on Alistair Seeley. We're on the 14th of 16 laps. 2 more laps to go after this one in this roasting 16-lap confrontation here in the Motorpoint British Supersport Championship.
Oh, Gowland having a little look. He often does that, Gowland. He has a little look on the inside and just then decides not to. I think sometimes it might cost him a tenth or two on his run out, but not this time.
The Galen Kawasaki picks up so quick. Here's Gowland taking a very early entrance into Hawthorne. He's done that before, and that has surged him through on the inside of the Scotsman. Can the Scotsman retaliate? Not into Westfield. Now, that's not what Stuart Easton would have wanted. The Martrain Yamaha squeezed back to 3rd place. He needs to be in a position to get the hammer onto Seeley.
It is so fast there when you hit the brakes. You know, you're hitting the brakes at 165, 175 miles an hour on one of these, and then you're down into a couple of gears, you know, and it's still 110, 120 mile an hour corner, so such a fast place to pass. What can he do about Seeley? That's the question as well. Is he gonna ruffle? Is he gonna come between these two, the men that are first and second in the championship? Obviously, Graham Gowland is currently 5th.
Streaking across the line now, penultimate lap. Oh, Stuart Easton gets it all airborne, coming over the top of the hill there for a split second. It was almost out of his control, but he coolly regained it.
Gowland so good on the throttle coming out there. You saw the bike squat, you saw the tyre flexing. He really is pushing so hard. This is one of his best bits of the track as well. He gets turned out of here. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a little look up the inside of this next left. Oh, not quite close enough. Not quite close enough. He's a real good sweep.
He's going for the fast line out, so he swoops it through, gets the power down early. But look how that Galen Kawasaki grips. Now he's got some draft. Surely, as the season tuning down the hill, this is what he likes to do. Get the early entrance into Hawthorne. He's back into the lead ahead of Alistair Seeley and the Galen Kawasaki. What drama here. Seeley Seeley tries to respond going into Westfield, and suddenly Stuart Easton's right back with, oh, he's run wide.
He's missed a gear.
Seeley's going to get down inside him, surely down Dingle-Dell, he does. And then he loses out also to Stuart Easton. A mistake there from Gowland.
Do you know what? I think he
done
missed
the hard work.
I think he missed the gear. You saw his foot sort of click something. He went a bit wide. I think he got maybe even got a dummy neutral in there, which is what made him go wide. So unlucky after all that work as they are about to start their last lap.
Alistair Seeley into Clearways through the Clark curve. This is it. 1 lap to go. The Yamaha of Stuart Easton cuts ever tighter going through the exit to Clark.
Here he
curve
comes.
And gets a long drop down into Paddock Bend. Oh, he gets underneath him. The swapping paid through Paddock Hill.
Gowland.
Easton comes out in front. Gowland tries to get underneath Seeley as Seeley gets forced wide and pushes him further wide into Druids. Seeley back to third. Gowland holding his line. Gets the better of him coming out of Druids. Down the hill. Stuart Easton into Graham Hill Bend. Gowland's going to come back inside him down the Cooper Straight and to take that early entrance. Here's Seeley coming up the inside.
Oh, Gowland's got it. Gowland's got up the inside. And look at Seeley. They're almost going to touch as they come out. It's going to be a rundown. We know how good Gowland is on the brakes into Hawthorns. But look at the speed of Easton.
Easton gets out of his slipstream so fast. Gowland gets fronted right back. He goes for the inside line again. Can't make it strike. I've never seen 3 abreast in Surtees before. I didn't think it was possible.
Wow.
Now Gowland's been forced back to third, and it's the Martrain Yamaha that's got the vital advantage over Alistair Seeley.
Yeah, well, you can see Easton's so good into there. He's not going to get him there, but we've seen Seeley pass him into this next little left. Is he going to have a look up the inside? He is. He's going to go up the inside here. Seeley goes wide. Easton squares it off.
Alistair Seeley back in the lead. Can Stuart Easton do anything about it? He's got to make an early move through Clearways. He tries to get inside. That's not going to work. Now, can he work anything out? Seeley made a mistake going through here this morning. He gave the Martrain Yamaha the advantage, but this time the wee wizard makes no mistake. Oh, just gets across the line first. 2 hundredths of a second separate them across the line. Gowler at last gets that rostrum finish for Seaton Tuning Yamaha. 4th Wilson, 5th O'Halloran, 6th Jake Dixon. What a ride from him ahead of McConnell, Richards, Jones, McKenzie. But it's all about these 3. What a race that was. And Alistair Seeley has regained that 40-point advantage in the championship table after a race of fairly incredible drama here yet again, as if we hadn't had enough. Oh, meanwhile, look at this lot. Luke Stapleford nicks 12th place off Nicky Coates ahead of Dean Hipwell and Bjorn Estman, with Rob Guyver just edge out of the points by a whisker. But, well, that was a race. You've got to be happy. I wouldn't say you need to be happy with finishing in 1st, 2nd and 3rd, but just to be involved in it, really.
Yeah, I mean, great stuff, you know, 3 guys right at the top of their game, and what a race. And let's not forget, so Dixon, who did brilliantly to bring his bike home 6th again, but Seeley wins. He pins another 5 points. It's a 40-point lead again, but and he's got 5 wins apiece now. They share them again. 5 wins for Easton, 5 wins for Seeley. It's just Easton is paying the price for that terrible Snetterton.
And Norma Dibidel could scarcely believe her eyes there.
Oh, that's it. I need a cold drink, Jack. Blimey.
Can you get me a water, please, mate?
Excellent stuff. Wow.
Or even a pint of shandy. So Alistair Seeley then, after 16 scintillating laps, Seeley takes victory from Stuart Easton and Graham Gowland. Ben Wilson in 4th, Jason O'Halloran 5th. If anyone out there has a few coppers in their pocket, please send them in the direction of Phil Seaton, because we don't really want to lose that team from the British Supersport Championship after producing exhilarating racing like that. So Seeley, once more, victorious. Back at Brands Hatch, where he was a winner 3 times in 2011. In both August and October. He wins it from Stuart Easton by a whisker. Graham Gowland in 3rd place, Ben Wilson 4th ahead of Jason O'Halloran, Jake Dixon a splendid 6th ahead of Billy McConnell and Glenn Richards, separated by just less than a 10th of a second. Luke Jones finishes 9th, Taron McKenzie, I beg his pardon, Taylor McKenzie finishes 10th, 11th Dean Brown ahead of Luke Stapleford and Nicky Coates. Dean Hipwell, Bjorn Estman rounds out the top point scorers by absolutely the narrowest of margins over Rob Guyver, who's so got that point in the first race this morning. Sean Winfield 17th ahead of Dutch champion Voskamp, and then they were the finishers, because Richard Cooper and Scott Smart both went out on the Oxford Tag Triumphs 9 laps back. The championship standings mean that Alistair Seeley and Galen Kawasaki pulled out that 40 points once again over Stuart Easton, with Ben Wilson in third place, Billy McConnell in fourth place, a diminishing distance ahead of Graham Gowland in fifth. Glenn Richards is now sixth, just 1 point ahead of Jason O'Halloran's Samsung Honda, with Glenn Irwin now joint eighth place with the remarkable teenager Jake Dixon, Luke Jones in 10th. 11th for Richard Cooper, ahead of Taylor Mackenzie, Luke Mossey, Scott Smark and Luke Stapleford. Dean Brown on the Appleyard Macadam Yamaha, 2 points behind Lucas Stapleford in 16th place, ahead of Bjorn Estbent, David Payton, Sam Hornsey and Pauli Pekkanen. And there's Alistair Seeley getting congratulated once again by the team. Oh, dear Norma, she's had lots of young men to hug over the years because they've backed so many fine riders. Alistair Seeley, the latest, of course. He's won here, of course, in British Superbikes as well, on Suzuki, as well as in Super Sport during her successful season as Super Sport champion in 2011. Well, the former National Superstock 1000 champion being congratulated there by Jonathan Palmer, because that was as good a race as Jonathan may ever have got involved in as a Formula One driver, I suspect. So Alistair Seeley, the man, he's getting copious attention. Lad who was the Ulster Schoolboy Motocross champion in 1996, having picked up the sport in 1994 as 15 years